So this video is a podcast interview with lottery winner Mark Haughton.
Are you listening?
So this video is a podcast interview with lottery winner Mark Haughton. He has won the lottery multiple times. I was super excited to sit down with him. Before I get to that, if you're new to this channel, my name is Timothy Schultz. I actually also am a lottery winner. Way back in the day, in 1999, I won the Powerball before going back to college to study film and journalism and broadcast news. And I'm now combining my experience with these things with my desire to meet and interview other people that I find fascinating on this YouTube channel, including other lottery winners. So if you want to see any of these interviews, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified when they come out. But this video is a podcast interview with multiple-time lottery winner Mark Haughton. Now, he has won various prizes with various games in the lottery, but he's very into the power of the subconscious mind as well as the law of attraction and that sort of thing. And so we got to discuss this in this interview along with his techniques that he uses, which he believes bring about these lottery wins. And he has won multiple times. It's very, very fascinating. So without further ado, let's get to it now. Here is my interview with multiple-time lottery winner Mark Haughton. So I'm here with Mark Haughton. Thank you so much for taking the time and for joining me. As I mentioned in the intro, Mark is a lottery winner and many other things, but his story is really fascinating, as well as his YouTube channel, for those of you that might not be familiar. But Mark, thank you so much for taking the time. How are you today?
Thank you, Timothy. I'm doing excellent, my friend. How about you?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Good.
Yeah, it's always great, a pleasure to meet another lottery winner, and you have won multiple times. Your story is really, really fascinating and very compelling to many, many people out there. And so I'm really excited to be able to sit down with you here.
Definitely. Yeah, we could talk about it. What do you want to know, man? It's a lot. It's quite a journey.
Yeah. No. Well. First of all, for the people, I know some people watching this are already familiar with you. But for the people that are not, so you have won the lottery, different prizes, multiple times. Can you talk about that? How many times have you won the lottery, and what exactly have you won?
All right. So just going off my head here. So when I started playing, I'd say 5 years. Within 5 years, I would say roughly total winnings over a couple million.
Wow.
But I've won multiple times every year. My single biggest win was 107,000, and everything else maybe 90, 30, 40, 60, 20, up in that range. I say pretty consistently. And there is a method to my madness, though, and that's what we're going to talk about.
Yes, absolutely, and we do want to definitely get to that. But before I do get to that, have you won on scratch tickets, or has it been lotto out of the machine? Like what kind of games are we talking about?
All of them. Predominantly, my biggest wins have actually come from me getting the numbers coming to me in a dream, or I like to say meditating or connecting with what I call my higher self. So the biggest ones have come from me deliberately picking my own numbers, and the other ones they scratch off, and other games where you get 4 or 5 numbers and you get the secondary top prize.
So predominantly these games, so they've come to you in a meditative state. These numbers have come to you in a dream state, or when your mind is quiet. And how does that happen?
So let me talk about how it began, right? So I wasn't really into the lottery. I had a pretty good job. I was working as an executive chef at a hotel here in Miami. But there was this car I seen. This beautiful car. It was a Dakar yellow E46 M3. They only built 1 of 10, right? I was like, man, I would love to get that car, man. I was like, that was my dream car. And I said, man, Mark, how are you gonna pay for this car? The car at that time was about $40,000. I was like, I don't want to make payments. And then a voice just came, and the voice just said, hey man, why don't you just go play the lottery? The lottery? Like, okay. And I started to play, but I started to visualize. And the thing with me though, I'm very I'm very spiritual, so to speak. Meaning I'm very connected with nature, the universe. I see things a little different. I'm not as logic or analytical. I have a very open mind, and I just love quantum physics and how the universe and how matter and everything creates. And I studied that a lot. I studied the mind, the subconscious mind, and I started to put things together, and I start to figure out and say, wait a minute. This reality that we call reality isn't really real. I mean, at the fundamental level. So what if I apply that in my mind? Anyway, I started doing that. Make a long story short, I visualized it and I bought the ticket. It was 6 months later, I won and I paid cash for the car. And then I just started doing it. Again, it was another 4 months. I had another 22,000. Then another 4 months later, I had 30,000. And then it just kept going and going. And that's when I noticed that whatever would happen, it would be this voice. It would be this. It's kind of the best way I could describe it. It's you, but it talks to you in a different tone, and it kind of just tells you with a nudge, say, "Hey, go do this, go do that." And I started to follow it, and with the numbers now, the ones that I create myself, So I mean, you play the lottery, so we have the games like the pick 4 games where you can pick 4 numbers. If it comes straight, you get 5,000. So those are games. So I would just say to myself, what number do I like? And I would just look around. Then I'll just ask kind of like the universe. I'll just say, hey, I'm feeling this number. Give me a sign to let me know if this number is good. And with me, it works this way. When I see the number 3 times, that's a go. I say, hey, Mark, go ahead and play it. So I'll see the numbers 3 times. And I'll give you one story about one particular number. The number was 4747. That's the number I got, I think, 107,000 with. And I'd ask the universe, hey, I like this number. But let me know which way it's going to come out. Because, 47 come out 4 different ways. 44, 44, 77. So I wanted to get it where it came out straight. And I just put the right amount of money down. And I did that. And then I was waiting for my confirmation. I was watching the news and the weather. And the guy was there talking in front of this building. And in front of the building, the number was 4747. Wow. So I said, okay, that's how it's going to come out. So I played it, and I noticed a pattern with me. It would take about 90 days, every 90 days for those numbers to come out. So I kind of gauged it. Anyway, I played it, and it came out just the way it did, 4747. So it was pretty awesome.
Wow, that's incredible. What are the odds?
Yeah,
I don't particularly believe in odds. I mean, the odds are, I don't necessarily believe in odds, but I mean, what are the odds for the people that do? So there are quite a few people that have questions about synchronicities, and I've had, some people that I've interviewed on this channel, other lottery winners that have had experiences prior to winning that have led them to believe. I mean, I have myself. I'll talk about that a little later, but I just want to get your opinion on synchronicities like this, like seeing these numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that happen, and how does that relate to this?
Yeah. Well, Timothy, the thing is this. The thing that I discovered is that so we live in 2 worlds simultaneously, right? So we live in a world where we see things in concrete and physical and look like real stuff. But at the same time, there's this other world that's going on at the same time where we experience things in a non-linear way. It's more like a guidance to these numbers, the universe communicate with us. And the only way we can tap into that world is if we quiet what we call the thinking mind and get into that voice, that dream-like mind. And that's where synchronicity operates. It's always there. Anybody can tap into this. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be a genius you just have to learn to know the awareness that there's 2 worlds, and then there's this other world for you that if you want it, you can have it, because the way it works is it's non-judgmental. So the synchronicities, they'll speak to you as a guide. So if, especially now for the lottery, this works great because this is my belief. I mean, the universe speaks in mathematics and numbers. So if anybody's interested in maybe like the casinos and the lottery, this is the way to do it, because you can actually use those forces, and it will put you in the right place at the right time to win. So, but it's fascinating, and that's what I believe.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. In addition to these synchronicities, do you visualize this is going to happen, and then it happens? Or
Yes, so that's the next powerful thing. So I remember with the car, and I'll tell you a story on that. So I decided I was going to use the lottery, right? So I said, okay, I played the lottery, and then I went to go see the car and the owner of the car, and he said, man, he says, how are you going to pay? I said, I'm going to buy the car cash. He just laughed and said, okay, you're going to get a loan from the bank or something? And I said, I'm going to win the lottery, and I'm going to come back and buy the car cash. And he says to me, he says, all right, man. He says, if that happens, man, I'm going to be so happy. I'm going to call my dad and tell my dad, hey, Dad, this guy won the lottery and bought the car. And so I started visualizing that for about 6 months. I was visualizing me going into, at the time it was a Publix. So I used to go check my tickets, and I would visualize the machine checking it, and it would show me the top prize. And I visualize calling him and say, hey, man, I'm coming to get the car. And then I could visualize him on the phone. He was saying, really, dude? He was laughing, and he called his dad. And that's exactly how it played out. It was so trippy that when I actually did win and I had the ticket and I was checking it, and I couldn't tell if I was still in that dream state, that visualization state, or was actually happening, because it played out exactly to the T. I went down, I went to the bank, I would say, hey, give me $34,000. It's like, I can't give you $34,000. You got to order the money. I was like, okay, well, give me a cashier's check. Took it down, I brought it to him. In the office, his dad was there, called his dad. It played out the same way. And that day, picked up a car and drove it off.
Wow.
So it's powerful.
Wow, that is powerful. That's incredible. So let me ask you, in essence, is this what is called the law of attraction?
Yes. So here's how it works. Now, so the law of attraction is this force. It's like gravity, right? So it's always working, whether you want it to or not. So I don't think this is the law of attraction. I think the law of attraction is the force behind it. I think this is something more deeper behind this than a law. I think so. Here's what I believe now. Mm-hmm. I believe that all of us, there's two parts of us. You have your mind, which is your ego mind. Like, for example, with your story, I kind of when I heard about you, I went ahead and looked up, and I was like, whoa, I didn't know who you were, man. I was like, oh, this is awesome. So with your story, you tapped into that second part of you, which is known as your higher self. So when you get the dream and it told you the numbers and told you to buy it at your gas station, that was the true you. That part of you exists in that other world that I talk about. Mm-hmm. So it's that part that's really the key. The law of attraction is that force that just brings it into us. But it's for you to connect to that source where you can get into the dream and connect. And that's what I'm able to do, and that's what I teach. I teach individuals to do that, to tap into that part, and they could win the lottery. When I started, it's like quite a few people that won when I first started just talking about it. Euro Millions, 4 million, 6 million, 7 million, and they'd all tell me the same thing. They was like, "Hey, man, Mark, man, I asked for the number, and it just came to me in a dream, just like that, man. And the voice would tell me this." So that's what I believe. I believe that there's this part of us, but it's not here in this physical. It's out there, and that's the main that's the hidden knowledge that I think we gotta let people know. We gotta let everyone gotta know this, because you have it. You tapped into that unconsciously when you did that, when you won.
That's fascinating. And for people, some people that are watching this aren't familiar with my story. This might be the first time they've ever seen this channel or yourself. So for those people that are new, I had a vivid dream prior to winning the Powerball way back in the day in 1999, a few months prior to it happening, and then it happened. And so every lottery winner that I interview, I ask about these things, but I find it very fascinating. And it's not, for me personally, it's not the only dream I've had about things before they've happened. And I've met other people that have had experiences prior to winning that led them to believe that they were going to win. I have so many questions, so I have to...
Yeah, man. Let's go.
Myself here. But so if you're tapping into your
higher self,
so what is your higher self?
All right. So here's how it works. So everything I'm saying to you is what I've experienced. So if I experience it, you experience it, but the difference is you did it unconsciously. I did it consciously. So that's what I'm teaching. I'm teaching now that there's a way that you can tap into it like deliberately, like you can go today and get more numbers, or if you want to win again. But the higher self is this, all right? So it's that voice, all right? It's that feeling that you ever have that nudge, that gut feeling when something is wrong, and then you didn't do it, it turned out right. It's that thing that comes to you in a dream. It's when you're thinking about something and then the answer automatically comes. It's when you're thinking about someone and they call you. It's when you have this feeling. Those are all the languages of the higher self. Now, the higher self is within us, but here's the issue with that. It's hard for us to pick it up because we have an ego. The ego is more dominant because we were all conditioned, right, to work hard, to struggle as normal as the 9 to 5. So our minds were in this kind of hectic world. So when that voice would talk to us, it would never come in because it would get shut out as, oh man, what is this? This is some kind of kook or clock, or I don't know, man. That's your mind will convince you that it's not there, but you're always connected. And that's when I said to myself, I said, man, so wait a minute. So I think I figured out how the reality works. Now I said, well, okay. So it's like I'm here, but my body's like an avatar. And then there's this other part of me that's outside that's kind of controlling everything. Because as you know, what happened with you, let's just talk odds. That's literally impossible for you to have one dream and then one ticket and it told you where to buy it. And then you went and told your friends that you said, hey, I'm going to win. And it played out like this. And with my story, if you do odds, it's practically right. It's like, whoa, this is. So that's when you start to open up and say, okay, there is really no such thing as these odds. It's this thing that this is part of you that you have that you can connect. And you can always connect to your higher self. And here's really easy. Mm-hmm. Here's what you do.
Yeah.
Just talk to yourself. When you're in silence or when you're kind of in a meditative state, ask yourself questions and then listen. And then but the secret is you have to know the languages it used to talk back to you. See, that's what people don't understand. So like, for example, it'll talk to you in synchronicities. It'll talk to you in dreams. It'll talk to you with music, with people. There's also something else I discovered about the higher self. I also now believe that the higher self has purpose for some of us. We're kind of like destined. It's kind of our destiny. We have an overall destiny. For example, your destiny was to win the lottery. An individual's destiny was to win. My destiny maybe was to win the lottery, but not just win. But I figured out my destiny was to win, but to teach people more. So the win was kind of just the teaser to say, hey, look at this guy winning. Okay, Mark, you've won a few times. You've won. Here's what you're supposed to do now. Teach, help, open people up. So I believe that. So all of us have this kind of, we have a destiny, but I think our overall purpose is predestined. But how we go achieving it is open. Means that, yeah, you can go ahead and win the lottery if you want. You can go ahead and be a CEO if you want. But whatever your overall purpose is, you can use that to get to that. So, but that's the higher self. It's that part of you that can take the impossible and make it possible. Because the world, you got Einstein behind you. He shows you that.
Yes.
Everything E equals MC squared, right? Energy thermodynamics, that nothing is really, there's no such thing as a materialistic world anymore. That was Newtonian physics. We discovered that idea a long time. Everything now is it's pretty much immaterial. But that's the quickest version of it.
Yeah, no, it's so fascinating. I believe, I don't advocate everything Einstein said, but he did say a lot of things were obviously very smart, and that's what he's known for. But he said something to the effect of imagination is more powerful than knowledge, or so I'm slaughtering his quote, but it leads me. I'm just curious your thoughts on, little kids, for example, have, in general, I'm generalizing, but a lot of them, their imaginations are out here, and then as you grow into an adult, you kind of go into thinking what you're supposed to think. And do you think that sort of ties into more open-mindedness as an adult? You're sort of trying to go back to what it was like when you were fresh in the world. Am I making sense?
Yeah, that's a good point, Timothy. Yeah, that's what I see. That's how it works. When we were kids, right? we were already pure and connected with our true selves, right? But what happens now, because we're conditioned in our subconscious mind, the subconscious mind is great, but it can also be a bad thing because it easily picks up anything you say. So when you're in that childlike state, this is why kids have so much, the imagine. You ever wonder why kids, when they just automatically love to play the G.I. Joe and they're just having fun and they're just unimaginative and it's like nothing bothers them. And if you notice, kids, things come to them so easily because they don't have the resistance and they're tuned in. But I believe what happens now is as we get programmed, we get cut off from that childlike imaginative world. As you say, imagination is the key. And that's what stops us from being, what you say, connected. As we get older as adults, we get into the hustle bustle life of working 9 to 5, whatever it is, we get distracted. But the key is if we can go back to that childlike state, and we all have it, it's still in us, then that's when we can change our world or change our lives. So that's a good point.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I have quite a few more questions that we're probably going to have time for today. I'm trying to get to all of them. Well, first of all, I know a lot of people out there want to know, of course, most people anyway want to win the lottery, so they want to know how they can do that. But before I get to that question, so I'm obviously very interested in this sort of thing, exploring what some people would dub as the unknown. But I believe that I'm very fascinated with this type of thing, with spirituality, with our connectedness. I believe there's much more to our energy and to reality than we necessarily see with our normal senses. So I'm really into this stuff and really fascinated. So it's a pleasure to always to meet someone like yourself that's really into this stuff.
The thing about yourself is that you were chosen. So you're into it now. I mean, back when you won, I'm sure you were like, whoa, this is like, I can't believe this luck. But I know that there was inside of you, there was this other thing that says, man, there is something beyond this that I just don't know. And so that's good. I commend you because now you can start to, shed light on, help other people, because then they see that they know your story. And it's pretty much kind of in line with other winners, right? They have that kind of dream and that what you call prophecy. It's no coincidence.
Yeah, there actually are quite a few people that have dreamt about it before it's happened, and other people that obviously have had other experiences that lead them to believe that it's going to happen. But before I get to too much of this stuff, I do have some people that watch this that are skeptical, that even for I'm very interested in this stuff, but for people, I know what I tell the skeptics when they come to when they leave a comment that's skeptical. But what are your thoughts? What do you say to someone when they say, this how is this real? Like, what do you say to someone that might not believe in this sort of thing?
Well, this is where you bring the science in. You can't be skeptical when it comes to science. And science don't care about what your belief is, or it shows you evidence, right? So let's talk about the science of it. So let's just talk about odds first. So what happened with you? Okay, the odds are pretty slim, all right? So that alone, we know there's something beyond that. Now let's compare other individuals that have the same thing. So if someone comes to me and they say, oh man, it's a bunch of baloney, blah, blah, blah. So I say to them, all right, so when someone has a dream and they have 6 numbers and they go and they win a number, go look up the odds of that happening. It's pretty low. So your mind must tell you there is something beyond this that we don't understand. Now let's look at the science now. And now we know that everything, including you and I, we have cells, break our cells down. We have molecules, break the molecules down. We have the atomic particles, the electrons, everything. Now we know that everything is connected, our thoughts and the energy. There's nothing that's not connected to us. We've done that. There's the famous double slit experiment where it shows the observer effect. So now we kind of see that, okay, there is something quirky going on here. So that's where you have to kind of show individuals. I mean, you don't have to convince, but you have to give them that, I need to do more research, and then let them go and make a decision for themselves, because the science is there to back them up. You can only speak from your experience. You can't convince someone. You only know from your experience, but you have the science to kind of guide them, to show them that, look, it's there. They've actually done, I mean, I don't know if you're aware of this, but this has just been recently declassified. The CIA and the Soviet had a program back in the 40s and 50s and 60s. They were putting $20 million in to have remote viewers. These were individuals that were sitting in a base. This declassified, go look it up. They were sitting in a base in the U.S. and they were remote viewing military bases, numbers, tanks in Russia, in the United States. Explain that to me. It's declassified.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, and I am aware of that, and I've interviewed some, not yet on this channel. Well, I've interviewed one person that hasn't been published yet as of the recording of this interview, but I have interviewed some people that are both remote viewers and scientists that are really into that stuff, and it's really fascinating. And I've had a couple. I don't know about yourself, but I've had a couple dreams. And if you've never had this, I'm not you, Mark, but anyone watching, if you haven't had something like this happen to you, it might be kind of hard to believe, but there are credible people. I interviewed a police commissioner and a quantum physicist who both strongly believed in remote viewing. And I've had a couple experiences myself that were unexplainable, and I don't want to take up the whole interview with my own stories, but have you had anything like that happen?
Yeah. Actually, that's those numbers. That's what I call them. I call them collapsing the numbers. It's kind of like remote influencing. So there's two types. You have remote view and remote influence. Remote view is your ability to see something in lifetime. Like I could stay here, and I could picture and see something, my family all the way in Connecticut in the house, and then I could call them. I could say, "Hey, Mom, were you just in the kitchen? Did you have that white shoe?" And she's like, "Yes, I seen that." Then you have remote influencing. This is where the numbers come in, where you can create something like those numbers, like you see those numbers, and then what you do now, you say, "All right, you know what? I like this number." You start to visualize it in the lottery. So when you go to your lottery app, you go to the website, you see the winning numbers there. All you do is just put your numbers into that vision and just keep seeing it every day, and eventually it pops up into reality. So what I think is happening here, what I believe happens here, is that so this is a little trippy, but I'm gonna make it kind of the easiest way I could put it for it. So we know that time isn't linear. So we know time is multidimensional, right? Mm-hmm. So we know that everything's happening right now, according to quantum physics and according to our subconscious mind. Like your subconscious mind doesn't know your age, the time, or anything. It knows now. So I believe that since everything is happening now, that version of you that won, what you call your future self, that's what you tapped into back in 1999 when you won. You tapped into your future self. You got the ticket number. But it's happening now, but it's just in a different coordinate. So that's what remote viewing is. It's not something mystical or it starts something happening. You just tapping into a coordinate within that space-time structure. And we know this because now we know, again, Einstein, space and time are interwoven. They're like a fabric. So when you remote view, and that's what you're doing, you're kind of tapping into that. Many of us do it unconsciously, and some of us now learn to do it consciously. So that's fascinating, and it's breaking edge. And of course, there's, as you say, physicists and the light now. With the age we're living in, there's so much information coming out, the technology now, that we're kind of seeing that all this, what we used to call hocus pocus or mystic, now it's becoming a real. We're like, whoa, the data's there to back it up.
Yeah. I've given a couple talks about some of this stuff, and it seems a lot of it's very natural.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like it's not this hocus pocus like like our society. Some people deem it as. So there are people watching this that really, really want to win the lottery, and of course it's possible for anyone to win the lottery. As far as if you play, you literally have a chance. But what is your advice to people that want to know what's the quickest way to
win, right?
To win, yeah.
All right, so here's the formula. All right, and this is what I've experienced, and this is what I've come up with, and this is what's been working. All right, and I'm going to use your example to drive this home. So, okay, that time when you won, notice something about you. You weren't in a state of I need to win. You were like, it'll be nice to win. You had the dream, and you're like, cool. The dream felt real, and you were convinced you were going to win. But there wasn't any like need or desperate or I need this money. I gotta have all this money. That was never your intention. You were just like, man, I just got this feeling I'm gonna win. See, what you did back then was you didn't have any resistance. You opened up the channel for that higher self to fulfill that manifestation. So that's the first thing for people. You have to not get into a state of need or desperation. You can't be like, I need the money, because you're going to create resistance because you're saying you don't have it. That's number one. Number two, you got to believe it's possible. Just possible. Say, hey, it's possible. If this guy win, I can win. Okay? That's number two. But the most important point, I believe, that will help people to win is you have to change your mindset. And this is what I did. So I don't look at the lottery as a game of chance or probabilities anymore. Because what I notice is when I start to look at that, then I start to think about, man, look at all the people I got to beat out to win this. Look at you. Yeah, you have to beat out billions of people just to win a Powerball, man. It's like one in how many? 800 million? Whatever. Yeah. If you start to think like that, I believe what happens now, you shut down that machine, that creative machine in you, because now you go into your analytic mind that says it can't happen. So here's what you do. Quantum physics. So we have superposition. Superposition means that a particle can exist in two states at the same time. So there's two realities going on right now. There's a reality of the probability or possibility of you winning. If you want to go in that reality, fine. That's going to take you longer, and that's where you're going to get doubt. But then there's the other reality of actuality, where now you don't look at the lottery as a game of odds. Now you look at the lottery as an investment. See, if you don't look at it as gambling, you got to take that out of your mind. And when you use gamble, you're telling yourself it's a chance, it's a probability. You limit yourself. So I look at it now as an investment. It's like stocks. When you put money in the stock market, you expect to get a huge return. The lottery is similar. When you buy a ticket, it's an investment, a $2 investment. There is a chance you could win 10 million. You're in the odds. But what you do, you take yourself out of that and just start to look at it as an investment, and don't look at it as gambling. Just look at it as, hey, it's possible. I visualize and I create my own world. Now, this is what you have to do. You have to make your own universe, your own world. So if you want to win the lottery, do not think about the odds or how many people is trying to win the same. Bring it down to just you. It's your world, because everything is infinite. The universe is infinite. And I believe that each of us, we create our own reality. So we bubble off. So when you won, that's what you did. You created your individual bubble reality, and you won, and everybody interpreted. So anyone can win the lottery. But if you have to adopt it from this mindset, because you think about it, you don't win because, it's luck or odds. I mean, it happens because, so let's say for someone, for example, that never experienced what you experienced or I experienced, right? They go out, they buy a ticket, and they win. I call that the probability or possibility. Remember, the universe exists in two states, so it means that somebody can just go and win. That's the odds. But if you want to deliberately create it, you can do that too. You can go from that reality into the possibility or the actual reality, where you deliberately create it, like you and I dream the numbers, you took action. You could have got those numbers, man, and you could have been like, man, I don't know what that is. I'm not even going to do. But something made you go ahead and bought the ticket. What was that something that, you ever thought about that? What was that thing that made me buy the ticket? Because, I know plenty of individuals, they talk to me and they say, Mark, man, I had this number and I've been playing it for 2 months. So many stories. It was 29 million and I missed it. 10 million and I missed it. What did I do wrong? I say, you know what you did? You gave up. You didn't believe. You had your mind fooled you. I say, if you ever, and this is the thing, guys, if you get a dream and if you see 6 numbers, play it. It's going to come out. Don't worry about time, because your mind doesn't see time. So it could be 1 year, 2 year, 5 years. Don't worry. If you play it, it must come out and you must win. So those are the best tips that, for a beginner to play, and they'll win.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And some people, as you said, some people do have a dream or a vision about numbers, and then they've won. I mean, for some people it's the next day, and for some people it's 30
Yeah,
years. I mean, it's not
yeah,
necessarily tomorrow, but
yeah.
they believe. You obviously have a YouTube channel. You have a huge following of people that you're teaching. But where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Mark Haughton YouTube. You can find me at mindcenterworld.com. You can find me Mark, just my YouTube. If you go to my YouTube channel, in the description of all the videos, you get all my contact, my Facebook group. Matter of fact, what I did, I created a Facebook group, right? It's a private group. Anyone could get in there. It's called Manifesting Lottery Winnings Using the Subconscious Mind and Law of Attraction. So it's kind of a blending of spiritual, like what you and I talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a nice growing group. And you can see pictures, or, I put my wins in there. So just to show people that, hey guys, this is real. This is not just fluke. And just other individuals in there that won 100,000, $1 million. A lot of members in there that are using, what I'm putting forth, the mind to win. So you can go in there and see for yourself and read the stories and get real interaction. But it's there. Yeah, that's where you can reach out to me.
Yeah, wow, that's fascinating. I'll definitely check that out.
But what about you? So what about you? Let me ask you. So when you won, right? After everything kind of settled down, when did you start to kind of get into like, hey, this is something going on here that I'm not, it's not normal. When did that start to kick in for you? When you start to kind of open up now and get into this your true self?
Well, I mean, for myself, I've had, prior to the lottery dream, I had dreams that had come true before they've happened, and it was I could tell the difference between a dream that was just a dream and a dream that I felt that had a high likelihood of coming true, because it was much more vivid, and oftentimes I would feel like I would go out of my body. And it sounds crazy if you've never experienced something like that, but that's for myself. I mean, you probably have, but for myself, that's the way I felt. And I was feeling a little down on my luck that particular day, and I was looking for inspiration, and I had this dream that not that I won in the dream, but I had already won in the dream. And it was so real that I woke up, and it took a little bit to understand that I hadn't won. And so from then on, I started playing more consistently and believed strongly that I would win. And after that, I pursued this type of thing even deeper, because I just found it so interesting and so compelling.
Yeah.
And
wow, that's interesting. You said that. So basically, what you did, Timothy, you astral project. You were astral traveler. So the fact that you had these dreams prior to win, it tells me that you're what's known as a seer. A seer is an individual that has the gift of fruition. That means that you can basically, you have dreams, a lot of dreams, and they come true. And you can think of stuff, and they come true. And so that's a very powerful gift.
So a lot of the dreams that I do have do come true. So is that coming from what's already going to happen, or is that something that is being created within my mind, or is that something that is just happening and then you're tapping into what's already going to happen?
Yeah. So here's how it works. So what happens is, so we have this timeline right on coordinates. So it's two things going on. It's you're tapping into I just use the word future thing that already happened. So you're picking it up. That's number one. Or number two is you're deliberately creating it from your higher self. It's your higher self saying, hey, this is the path. This is how we're going to do it. So it goes in two forms. Now, the only thing is, there's no way that you can really tell that, okay, that I deliberately chose that. You could only observe them. So, because you're the observer of yourself, that higher self. So, for example, when you have these dreams, for the lottery, for example, that had already happened. That's why you tapped into that. So you just caught up to that timeline. So that was your higher self showing you, hey, Timothy, this is what you got to do. You're going to win. When you left your body and you could go, that's called astral travel or astral projection. That's when that's your higher self going out. And then what happens with astral projection, astral travel, like remote views, and you see this all the time with individuals with near-death experience, right? They're on the operating table, and the guy is up there, and he comes back down. He tells the doctor, he says, hey, I seen what you were doing. You had to watch. You took it off. You went and called the nurse. Doctor says, how could you see that? You were pronounced dead for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
See that? All those. So that's that. I call that the etheric realm. That's that deeper level of existence. And to be honest, man, people don't want to talk about it because the world we live in now, it's that stuff is just doesn't bring the news. It just doesn't, it's not exciting. People want to see the music, the sports, whatever. It's just that's not hip.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not out like that.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. That subject's really interesting. I one time I produced a feature-length documentary about ghosts and was going to go into a documentary about life after death, and spoke with this person that he was an electrician on a telephone pole, and he got shocked and he got electrocuted. Really, his body literally died, and he claimed that he came back to life, obviously, because I talked to him, a couple years after it happened, and he claimed that he went out of his body and had this experience and saw the light and all this stuff, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's very trippy. And again, it goes to what I'm saying. Like, it shows further evidence that this reality that we see, it's not a physical world. That there's this other part of us that's driving things. That the body is just, it's like an avatar, man. It's like a video game. You're the controller, and you're the video game inside, and that's why you're able to get out, because the mind and the body are two separate things. People don't understand that. And listen, the reason why it's so difficult or so hard for us to grasp this, and why people are so skeptical about this, is because of our conscious mind. You see, our mind was designed for logic and analytical stuff. And here's something more important: the mind was made not to understand these deeper things. It was just made to interpret them, to just see them and observe them. So when it doesn't make sense, the mind just has a backup system where it comes in with fear, or what we call skepticism. Like, no, it's impossible. You can't. There's no logical way, because the mind can't see beyond that. And science shows this, right? Neuroscience, the study of the nervous system and the brain, it shows that our conscious mind, we only can produce about 20 to 7,000 thoughts. Your subconscious mind is producing 1 billion bits of information per second.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's fascinating, and I show that just how limited our minds is. So my motto is this: I never trust my logical mind when it comes to stuff like this. I mean, I use it for everyday things, but when I can't understand something, I have an open mind, and I just go into my higher mind, because then it gets revealed.
And I'm just going to go back to the lottery thing. All of this we could talk for hours about all of this. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, I know, right?
But with the lottery, when you have a vision of these numbers, is that are you relaxing yourself and just letting it enter into you? Or are you doing this intentionally? Are you asking the universe to? Are you like, what is your technique?
Right. So with me now, I do it intentionally. So I call it remote influencing or collapsing the numbers. So I do it intentionally. So there's a couple ways it comes to me a couple ways. I've had dreams. Like right now, this vivid dream came to me about 2 months ago, and I got 5 and 6 numbers. So I have those numbers playing now. But the lottery now, what I do is I deliberately collapse them. So what I start to do is I just get up, and every day I just ask myself, I say, what are some good numbers? And I think, and then numbers will pop into my head. I said, I like that number. And then I add a couple numbers to it. And then what I start to do, then I start to collapse it. Collapse it means now I'm focusing my energy on it. So I'm kind of bringing it into reality, because that's how we create. We create with that focus and energy, and it collapses stuff and brings it into a physical reality. So I see the numbers, and then I visualize them. Right, I'll use the number where it's 4747. So what I will do is I'll see that number every day, and I'll visualize it. Then I'll speak out. When I'm driving in my car, I would say something like, I'll say, why is 4747 the winning top prize pick for numbers or something? So I kind of, when I speak it out, I always see myself as the energy that's like mixing it up. Then I'll do that. And I mean, for some, now I teach this to my students or just individuals watch my channel. Now, for some people, they do it. And here's the irony of this. I kind of see this stuff. It takes me 3 months. The people I teach it to, they're doing it in like a week, 2 weeks. I'm like, whoa. It's funny, but they do it. I had one student. He got $400,000 off of that a number I taught him, and he did it, and he got it in maybe 2 weeks. I think it was 3 weeks.
Wow.
But it's interesting. It's interesting that some of us, we can do it faster than others. I believe, the timeline thing, like you say, when you won, and it takes you 1 month or 2 months to take some people 3 years. I think that just depends on our higher self. It determines a timeline for us. I believe that.
Tapping into it?
Yeah, tapping into it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I won't take up too much more of your time, but do you have anything that you wanted to say today that I don't know enough to ask?
Well, so the thing for you, pertaining to you, is that the only thing that I would want to say for you to understand is that when you came here, right, you had a purpose. So what happens is, when you won and everything leading up to where you are right now, is that you have this gift, right? And this is something that you have to continue to develop to help. Now, this is going to be beyond the lottery, because once you start to tap into like what you're doing, the ability to, what I call astral travel and remote view, that's basically what you did to win. It's a testimony to show people that, hey, man, here it is, the dream, the number, and it came through. And the next thing I want just to understand is that, the reality that you see and all of us are seeing right now, it is not materialistic. It's fluid. It's two parts at the same time, and you can influence it with your mind and with your feelings. That's very important for people to understand, that if you create from inside, there's nothing out. The thing that's outside is the effect. The cause comes from within us. People don't get that when I say, what? I say, you create from inside. What do you mean? What I'm saying to you is that you are the observer, that everything cannot come in without you. So what you see, like all these things right now, you created that. So if you don't like what you see outside, change what you see inside, and the outside will reflect. So what I want people to know is we do it wrong. We were taught we have to change outside. Now you see it doesn't make sense, right? Because the outside is the effect, inside is the cause. That goes against physics. You cannot change the effect without first changing the cause. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And by changing the cause, it's the energy that you're putting out there and that you're connected to everyone and to the universe.
So all right. So in physics, they discovered what's called this field, right? They call it unified field. It's called the fields. So they discovered that space isn't really empty. It's filled with all types of energy, some 0 point. So it's in this field that we create our reality. So this field is all around us. So the only way you can get to that field is through your mind's eye, through your feelings and attention, thoughts, feelings. So that means if I'm thinking about something, or if I decided something, or if I believe something, I'm influencing that field. Remember now, everything is made from particles, including you and I. So when I think, like, for example, you say, I know I'm going to win the lottery. I believe I'm going to win the lottery. Every day you visualize it. You influence that field. That field is infinite, so it creates anything. So once I tap into that field, I am creating it, and I keep doing it over and over again. It has to materialize somewhere, whether it takes a week, whether it takes 2 years, 5 years. It depends on, as I say, the individual, but it must come to pass. That's science now. They discovered this field, and they discovered that, the heart is connected to it. Your heart has a 6 feet electromagnetic signature. I don't know if you know that. So there's a magnetic force field 6 feet right now from your heart that you can use and detect it, and that's part of that field. I mean, your brain, all of our senses, it's created through electromagnetic chemical, which the brain produces. Your body is alive. It's electrified. There's volts of energy going on right now in your body. That's how it communicates, and it's part of this field. That's how the inside creates the outside.
That's fascinating. I have so many follow-up questions, but I know we're running out of time here. But
we'll do another one.
Yeah,
we'll do
absolutely.
podcast.
No, I'd love to have you back. But just to remind people, they can find you on many places, but on YouTube here as well.
Yeah, just YouTube Mark Haughton, And everything is there. Just look in the description. You see all the links to the Facebook group, Instagram. You can find me, Mark Haughton. TikTok. I think I'm one of my Mark Quantum 8888. So I'm there spreading awareness to let everyone know how powerful and special you are, and that you have this gift that you have just learned. Someone have to just teach you how to unlock it. And like you did it unconsciously, but now you're doing it consciously.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Well, I love what you're doing, Mark, and it's such an honor. I love meeting people that are really into this stuff, and what you're doing is incredible. So I commend you. Thank you so much, and on your lottery wins, that's really awesome as well. So congratulations on those, and thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it, and hope to have you back again in the future.
We definitely will do another one, man, because we got some more deep diving to do. But definitely sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was my interview with Mark Haughton. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. And let me know in the comments, what do you think of this interview? And also, have you ever had any experiences which you attribute to the subconscious, to the power of the subconscious mind? Have you had any experiences yourself? If so, I want to hear about it. Go ahead and put those in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support.